Are you ready to make a super easy pet bed? Well, I've got you and Vi's gonna help. So we made these pet beds a while back for Miss Molly, who you saw in the intro, and there was a request for a couple of more teams, so let's make some more. I got some fleece, and all I'm doing is folding it in quarters, and then I'm going to use that to cut 2 ovals. Those are gonna make the 2 halves of my pet bed. As you can see, the fabric can be thick, so take your time. If you have to, just mark it and then cut it. Open it up. I'm going to check my ovals. This is for a larger dog, so I got 1.5 yards. For the other beds, I got 1 yard. And again, just cut that oval from what I could, so no precise measurements here. Once I separate them out and fold them again, it's time to mark it. And here I am going to use a ruler. On my larger pet bed, I did 6 on the shorter side and 8 inches on the longer side, marked it with chalk all the way around. Now, the reason I'm marking this circle is because later I want to be able to sew along this line, and that is going to be my guide for stitching them together to make the poof cushion in the middle. If you wanted to, you could just mark this and not sew it, but for me, it's easier to be tactile and feel where those stitches are going to go instead of having to look for chalk. Now, I did have an order for 3 beds, so you'll see me speeding the other 2 up as we go along. Now I'm going to baste my circle. Again, this is just a long basting line so that later when I'm stitching the 2 halves together, I can feel for where my running line needs to be instead of actually looking through the chalk. Also, I think it just makes it look a little bit nicer and bending into that fold. So super easy, just follow your chalk line from earlier. Then it's time to pin the 2 halves together. Once you have them clipped, it's time for my favorite part, which is serging around the edge. I'm taking a little extra off on this one because there were some spots that didn't cut and line up easily. You saw I was having trouble cutting this fabric. And that's the beauty of a serger. You can just cut those mistakes off if you need to, especially on something like a pet bed where the measurement doesn't have to be exact. Go all the way around the edge, stop right before you get to where you started and sew off the fabric because we still need that hole to turn it and stuff it. I'm using a 4-thread safety stitch here, but you could use a 4-thread overlock, a sewing machine, or even hand sew this part. You're going to reach inside that hole you left and turn the entire thing inside out. Of course, I pressed the seams, stuff it with polyfill batting. I had some used pillows as well. Get some kneading help to get it fluffed back up. Make sure that when you're stuffing it, you're not stuffing it too firmly or the next step is going to be really difficult. You can do this next part in either order, but I chose to sew mine up first. You're just going to use a ladder stitch to close that hole after you've put the batting in it. And then you're going to use a basting, running, or tacking stitch, your choice, to sew through the batting to connect the 2 basting lines you made earlier. That's what's going to make that poof there, is the pressure that you put on the fabric with your line. So send me pictures of your babies enjoying their new beds and have fun making.